We're live from Acrisure Arena, and I'm going to talk about some possible trade targets, some free agent stuff, Zegras trade rumors, and how long I could grow this beard out. I'll talk about all of that on this edition of Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jason J.D. Hernandez. I've been covering hockey for well over a decade. I have also been covering minor league hockey for about that long, contribute to Defend the Nest, and also the public address voice for the Coachella Valley Firebirds, and we're live from Acrisure Arena. This episode is brought to you by the GameTime app. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So we've got a bit to get to on this one, and apologies for not having an episode the last couple of days. As you could imagine, it's been very busy with Calder Cup playoffs, amongst other things. And I will just say, I'll peel back the curtain a little bit with the team that I used to work for and the team I currently work for playing each other in the Calder Cup playoffs. It's been a bit much recently. So as you can imagine, it's a little bit busy right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this episode. It'll be out late Friday, right after the Firebirds Reign game, which I'll talk about in a second. And yeah, try to get at least an episode or two out over the weekend. It is not going to be easy, folks, because there's another game coming. But we'll talk about all that later. In the meantime, I want to talk about something that has popped up on my feed numerous times over the past couple of days. And I wanted to record an episode on Wednesday, but arriving here late and just couldn't get one out Wednesday night. So this is what you get. Trade targets. Now, I mean specifically trade targets where players are currently on other teams at the moment. And there's a couple of names that I looked at with a year left on their contracts. I would say the chances of them getting traded are less than 50%, but it doesn't hurt to at least talk about it and entertain it, because who knows? Who knows about this? So I do want to start off with talking about Pavel Buchnevich. Now, this is a name that I have seen pop up in a lot of tweets, a lot of articles about, a player that is most likely to get traded this offseason. And the advantage to trading for Buchnevich now is he's got a year left on his contract. It's a $5.8 million cap hit, which isn't too bad. And I think the Ducks would be willing to take on that entire contract because they have the cap space, they have the room. The question is, what could the Ducks possibly give up for Pavel Buchnevich? And it turns out it might be a lot, because I think it looks like St. Louis does kind of value him. He is a top wing scorer, someone that is going to get you a lot of points. He's only 29 years old. This last season with the Blues, he scored 63 points. Actually, his last 3 seasons in St. Louis have been terrific. 30 goals, 26 goals, 27 goals. On average, almost 70, about 69 points per season. Nice. So that's someone that you could look at, but it's going to be a heavy price. The Ducks would have to give up at least a couple of picks. And if they give up at least a couple of picks, that's going to be very tough. So I don't know if they're willing to give that up right away. And it would have to be a prospect, and a very good prospect at that. The Ducks do have a slew of prospects, and it turns out that not all of them are going to fit into the Ducks' long-term plans. So that also begs the question, should the Ducks dangle those prospects that are not going to make the Ducks anytime soon and use that as trade bait? So that's a possibility. Another name that I looked at, and this one I think less likely to get because of how well he's doing right now. He is still playing, but I have seen this name pop up a ton. Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett is not a top line guy. In fact, he's a middle six guy for the Florida Panthers right now. So that's going to be a little bit tricky to work out for the Ducks because, again, they would have to trade a lot of assets. They'd have to trade some picks. That's going to be very tough. However, he's only making $4.425 million next season. So I think I say less likely because I think the Florida Panthers might want to retain him and might want to keep him around. So I would say let's wait and see what Florida does. If they do decide to re-sign him, I would say the chances of that are pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good. All right, we're going to head into the first intermission right now, and I'm going to talk about not trade targets, but free agent targets, and also talk about the Zegras rumors that you may or may not have seen online, which are pretty ridiculous. So we will get to that on the other side. And now a brief word from the GameTime app. And folks, if you haven't used the GameTime app, what in the world are you waiting for? Because the GameTime app is just loaded with all kinds of great ticket deals. It's an authorized ticket marketplace for all your major sports, and it makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app are actually going down the closer it is to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. You could browse through the app, see what's coming up. You got your baseball tickets. Dodgers tickets are pretty hot right now. And, you can get flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, seat views, and once again, GameTime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, you are locked in with Jason JD Hernandez. So I'm just going to peel back the curtain here. I've got a lot of folks sending messages because, I used to work in Ontario. I'm currently the PA announcer for the Firebirds. Yes, I am working here. Conflict of interest, not really, but I'm a professional. I do what I have to do. So I want to before I talk about free agents, I first want to talk about trade rumors. And there's one in particular that I do want to talk about. When I saw this tweet, I thought it was ridiculous, like super ridiculous. This is from Leafs Fan MD. He actually put out this tweet. Possible trades. Trade one scenario. To Toronto, Frank Vatrano and Mason McTavish. To Anaheim, Mitch Marner. Heck no. This one was even worse. This one I laughed at. To Toronto, Frank Vatrano and Troy Terry for Mitch Marner and Nick Robertson. I say no to both of those trades. Anaheim would have no reason to give up Frank Vatrano, and they would have really no reason to give up Troy Terry. Mason McTavish hasn't even entered close to his prime yet. So I don't see why the Ducks would make these moves when Troy Terry has shown that he's capable of being a captain. Frank Vatrano had his best season. The Ducks might want to retain him. Now, there is also the rumors that because Vatrano also has a year left on his contract, that he might be a massive trade target. I don't see that happening. Then there's also been the trade rumors with Trevor Zegras. Abso-freaking-lutely not. I've seen rumor after rumor after rumor that Trevor Zegras is going to go to the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs would have to give up a lot to get Trevor Zegras. And to be honest, the reason for these rumors is because of the low point output. Well, folks, that's because he's been freaking injured all season long. That's why those rumors have come about. When Zegras is healthy, he is one of the best and most dynamic players on the Ducks roster. So there's no reason to trade him, not at all. So just want to talk about those rumors. Not happening. Okay, now I got to talk about the free agents. Yeah, you're good. Yeah. So you can sit right there. I want to talk about some possible free agents that are currently free agents as of this moment. And this was actually just reported that the Hurricanes are not expected to sign Brett Pesce and Marty Necas to new contracts. And they are essentially, as of this moment, free agents. I say as of this moment because, in case you missed it, the Carolina Hurricanes just got eliminated by the hands of the New York Rangers. So with that, I think neither of those guys are going to get re-signed. The Hurricanes are going to focus on re-signing Jake Gensel. So that leaves Pesce and Necas as the odd men out. As far as Necas is concerned, he's still only 25 years old. The young Czech would do well in a team like Anaheim. He's already got his fellow countryman, Lukáš Dostal, on that side. That does fill a need for the Ducks. They do need a couple more wingers to round out that side of the roster. So that is someone that you could look at. And again, with the cap room that they have, that's a big possibility and someone that they should probably go after. Brett Pesce, right defenseman. There's a lot to be said about the supposed depth that Anaheim does have right now. However, I do also want to point out that a lot of that is young right now, and a lot of these guys are still raw and still developing. So maybe getting a veteran like Brett Pesce would do well for the team long term. Again, he's only 29 years old. He could be on, I guess, a pairing with one of the younger guys, one of the left defensemen that the Ducks have right now. So that's someone that the Ducks could also look at. They could probably give him about $4 to $5 million. Last season, Brett Pesce had a cap hit of just over $4 million, $4.025 million to be exact. So I see no reason why they wouldn't go $5 million as well. As far as the cap space that Anaheim has, they've got a ton of cap space. They've got over $30 million, actually $33 million in cap space. They still need to spend $9 million to get off the cap floor. They haven't hit the floor yet, guys. The money that they could spend seems endless. They would have to spend it anyway. So those are two kind of targets that they could go after. All right, we're going to head into the second intermission because it's hockey. There's two intermissions. Yeah. So we're going to head to that second intermission, and I will give a update on the Calder Cup playoffs, or a Calder Cup date. That was lame. I'm sorry. Stay locked in. Please stay locked in. And now a brief word from eBay Motors. I know that was a bad joke, folks. Everyone thinks it's bad. But anyway, let's talk about eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience. Oh my goodness. Patience underlined. Doubly underlined. That's the formula for winning championships, and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much more. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. I know. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to Locked On, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Once again, you're locked in with Jason J.D. Hernandez. So we're going to have I'm going to say it one more time to the chagrin of folks, a Calder Cup date. Because cup and update. Okay, that was terrible. All right. So we're going to start off in the East because I'm going to save the best for last. And so far, the two series in the East have finished one game. And I'm going to start with the Hershey series against the Hartford Wolfpack because that one was a complete blowout in game one. It wasn't even close. Hershey won 6-1. I will be honest. I'm not going to lie. Hershey looks good. Hershey looks dangerous. They've got the scoring. They've got the goaltending. That I would be surprised if that goes further than 3 games. Hershey is just so good. And Hartford has been battling tooth and nail to even make it to this point. They have been the underdog in every series thus far, and they even fought tooth and nail to get into the playoffs. So to them, this is like, you know what? We made the division finals. Like, I'm not going to say like, yeah, we're good, but they're clearly outmatched by the Hershey Bears. So that one's kind of tough. But the other series, and I do want to talk about this for more than a second, because the Cleveland Monsters series is an interesting one. They won game one 1-0 in just an absolute brutal goalie battle. And this was probably one of my favorite games to watch because I love a good goalie battle. 2, I love a really good goalie battle when they're both making spectacular save after spectacular save. And I got to give it up to Jet Greaves. Jet Greaves is a name that most people in the West Coast have not heard of, but I mean, they edged Syracuse. Jet Greaves is amongst the playoff leaders in goalie stats in the Calder Cup playoffs. So far, in 5 games, you ready for this? He's got a 147 goals against and a 952 save percentage. Those are disgusting numbers. But from watching the games, especially the previous series, Jet Greaves is playing at an elite level, making athletic save after athletic save. And they're kind of my dark horse. If there's a team that can beat the Hershey Bears from the Eastern Conference, it's the Cleveland Monsters. And Jet Greaves is absolutely the number one reason why. No offense to the players that have scored the goals for the Monsters. Like, no offense to them, but Jet Greaves is the guy. So keep an ear for that name and check out his massive saves. Now let's get to the Western Conference. The series that y'all want to hear about. One game has been played between Milwaukee and Grand Rapids. Game 1 wins to Grand Rapids. And this is because of a little bit of a goalie. I'm not going to use the word controversy, but it's kind of weird. Yaroslav Askarov, first 2 games in the previous series, did not have a good couple of games. In fact, in game 2, he wound up tackling a guy, and he's essentially been benched since then. It's been all Troy Grosenick. Grosenick got the 3 wins for the Milwaukee Admirals, if you could believe that. Yes, that Troy Grosenick. But in game 1 of the series against the Grand Rapids Griffins, he wound up with the loss. So now the big question that I've been seeing across like Predators Twitter, are they going to stick with Grosenick? Are they going to go back to Askarov? Are we going to have another ASCII no moment? Yes, that's what it's called. It's called an ASCII no moment. You know, we saw it here in Coachella Valley last year. Him doing a little Olay act, giving up a bad goal to Alexander True. Then he got benched for that. This season, tackling a guy, he got benched for that too. So, yeah, what's going to happen in game 2? Game 2 isn't until Monday. I am very curious to see what happens in that series. Now, let's talk about the series that I've kind of had a front row seat to, and that's between the Firebirds and the Ontario Reign. I will admit, I thought this would be a little bit closer. I thought one of these last couple of games would go extra. That has happened. It hasn't happened at all. Game 1 went to the Coachella Valley Firebirds in a very heated battle without like any rough stuff. But I will give credit to the goaltending. Chris Drieger has been the guy. Shots on goal in game one were a whopping 31-15 in favor of the Ontario Reign. And Drieger made big save after big save, including a couple of acrobatic saves towards the end. In the last period, he made 13 saves. But that was just an opening act. I say that because I got to talk about the game that just happened here at Acrisure Arena. Yeah, he was a number 3 star and a very deserved 3rd star. Now, I know what some fans are going to say. Oh, he gave up 3 goals. He shouldn't be the 3rd star. No, BS. Okay. Dude got 32 saves. Shots on goal were 35-28 in favor of Ontario. In the last 2 periods, shots on goal were a whopping 28-16 in favor of Ontario. Part of that was the slew of penalties that happened in this game. But Drieger was completely deserving of that number 3 star, and I was very happy to see the reception that he got. And by the way, last season it was the Joey chance. This year it is the Drieger chance. So far, he is 2-0 on this series, deserving of that number 3 star. And actually, that's one thing I want to talk about. The other big thing I want to talk about is the play that happened at the beginning of the 3rd period, where Shane Wright took a cheap shot from Hayden Hodgson, who wound up getting a major penalty, and he got the gate. Hodgson got ejected. Shane Wright did not return in the 3rd period. And now the question is going to be what happens with Hodgson. Does he get suspended? Does he not? The league is assured. Actually, the league has to look at it anyway because it is a major NA game. The league has to look at it automatically anyway. So now the question is going to be, is he going to get a 1-game suspension or not? And can this series possibly end in a sweep? I don't know. I honestly, I'm not going to call the rest of the series, but I will say I'm kind of surprised with how this series has gone thus far. So as of this recording, it is a 2-0 series lead for the Firebirds. Coming up this weekend, Saturday, you have the 2 Eastern games, Syracuse-Cleveland, Hartford-Hershey. So watch out for those games. Then on Sunday at Toyota Arena, Firebirds at Ontario. The series could end. That's a 7 o'clock Pacific start time. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. All right, we're finally going to wrap up here. Once again, thank you all for your support. Thanks for those of you that have been sending in questions. Yes, I am getting the questions. I will just say there's one question that I got literally just a couple days ago asking about like my Firebird stuff. So I will get to those questions once we get more of them. I'll do another mailbag. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget this podcast is free and available across all platforms, including Stitcher, Spotify, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, among others. You could follow me on the Twitter sphere because I'm still going to call it that, at StimpyJD, because Ren and Stimpy, yeah. The show's Twitter is at LO_Ducks. You could email me at lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com. Keep sending in your questions. I greatly appreciate them. And I also want to give a shout out to all the Ontario fans and a couple of Ducks fans, by the way, that have come out and said hi during this series. So I appreciate you all. You all are awesome. Thank you so much. For Locked On Anaheim Ducks, I'm Jason J.D. Hernandez saying have a great rest of the night. Please remember to be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Ducks fly together. And just for the Firebirds fans, I will do this one more time. Stay fired up.